Good afternoon. Welcome to Connections, and I'm your host, Pastor Kevin McGee of the Victory Temple Church of God in Christ. You're listening to us on IntellectualRadio.com. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio. Connections is a show designed to keep you connected and network to those in the Christian community who are making impacts. So get ready because your connection is now established. And if you wish to become a connection advertiser, please reach out to me at bishop1915@gmail.com or inbox me on Facebook. And if you choose to host your own show here on IntellectualRadio.com, inbox me and I can help to direct you. Nature Sunshine. Have you kept your weight loss goals for 2022? Would you like a natural approach to weight loss? Do you want to lose and see changes immediately? Do you take medication for high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, fibromyalgia, cancer, arthritis, or any other condition in your body? Do you have poor circulation, frequent colds, flu, or chronic fatigue, or perhaps you just want to maintain a healthy body? Give Nature Sunshine a try. They have many products and plans that will assist you in losing weight or maintaining and improving your health the natural way. You can reach to them at 708-302-5655. The Bedrock Movement affirms safety, comfort, dignity, awareness, and empowerment for Chicagoland street homeless. For any internship needs for schools, community service and mandated from the court, or you just want to volunteer assisting the street homeless, please call John Netherly at 773-567-5110. We have a solution. We offer a suite of voluntary benefits for individuals and family. Who do you know that's with less than perfect credit that's in the market for a home, car, or other financial need? Our services include the following: credit restoration, will and trust, budgeting, credit builder, credit attorney, credit monitoring, debt payoff, financial lockbox, identity monitoring, life insurance, net worth, savings goals, YFL Family Mint. Maximize your credit score. Their services can help with obsolete, inaccurate, outdated, and unverified information from your credit profile. Reach out to Vania Perry at vania.thatlady@outlook.com or reach out to her at 708-910-4767, or you can find her on Facebook under Financial Fitness by That Lady. Big Hands Barbecue and Catering. Earl, you know that's my favorite ad right there. Big Hands Barbecue and Catering, where everything is a knockout. You can reach out to Henry and Robin Williams Denson, and they are at the corner of 167 the Dixie Highway in Markham, Illinois. They have a food truck there. And listen, this is what they have on their truck: Big Hen hot links, rib tips, turkey tips, Big Hen burger, mixed green with smoked turkey, meat and cornbread, Big Hen signature mac and cheese, peach cobbler, banana pudding, chow beans, and creamy coleslaw, Big Hen's ribs. Listen, you want to be able to go out there, support Black business. They are good people. You can also reach them at 708-264-1474. And for all of those that are in need of real estate transactions, be it purchasing a home, you want to sell a home, you want to buy investment properties, reach out to me with GRD Realty. We can help you with all your real estate transaction. Listen, the market is not as bad as you think. Trust me, home ownership is the key. If you're paying $1,600 a month in rent, that's a mortgage. That's a house note. Contact me. We can talk about it, and we can let you know about the upcoming homeowners seminar we're going to have. All right. Today, we have in the studio this brother here. He isn't, can I say, he's a business icon of Chicago, all right? He's a musical icon of Chicago.
I do my best.
And he's a busy man. Listen, if you're on social media, if you're on Facebook, you see all the different things that he's involved with. But we wanted to showcase this young man, showcase his business acumen. Amen. We want to talk with the brother Larry Roberts Jr., who is the founder, the owner, the CEO, the everything of Larry's Barber College. This is Black Business Entrepreneur Spotlight, and we're going to talk about the many faces or the many facets of Larry Roberts Jr. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, Pastor.
Man, it's good to have you.
Hey, I grew up with with Big Hen them, man, the barbecue people. You know that, don't you?
No, I didn't know that, but I know that now.
I grew up. Yeah, we grew up in the same church together.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, they can't get me on the ribs though. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, because my dad used to own Larry's ribs back in the day.
Right.
So I grew up
I've
barbecuing
had
ribs,
some of your
man.
dad's ribs.
Oh yeah,
Man. I had some of those,
yeah.
and I've had Henry and Robin on the show a couple of times. They brought some of that food in.
Oh yeah,
and
real great people. We grew up together, man. In the church,
good people. But yeah, I remember your dad having a restaurant, man, and
Mm-hmm.
I went out there and I said, "Ooh, these are some good ribs." I'm like, the man can not only can he play an organ, he can cook some ribs.
Yeah, yeah.
But we just thank God for you. And before we get into the business portion of who you are, the CEO and all of that, tell us who Mr. Larry Roberts, the man, is.
Man, I'm just a humble servant, man. Born and raised church all my life. My dad played organ for all the greats back in the day, the James Clevelands and Albertina Walker and Lavonia Whitley, Corinthian Temple, Milton Bronson, man. So I pretty much grew up, in that environment, man. Born on a church pew, as we call it, PK, and had to get saved every Friday night. So I'm still saved, man, for me and a couple more generations, man. But
Gotcha.
but that's who I am, man. You know what I'm saying? Raised well by my mom and my dad. All of the moral ethics that I needed. My parents instilled that inside of me, man. Of course, coming up in church. My grandmother was, I know we're going to get into that, man, but they scared us into getting saved, man, so, but I got past that, man, and kind of grew up and, made some wise decisions on my own, man. But that's who I am, man.
It made you hell scared.
Period. Everything was sin.
Looking the wrong way was a sin.
Absolutely.
Breathing the wrong way was a sin. You didn't breathe right. That's a sin.
That's right.
All right. So shout out to Naaman Williams who's watching. Good to see you, man. Pastor Diane Barner. God bless you. Angel Falls. God bless you. Please like and share today's interview. Like and share with all your across all your social media platforms. All right. So let's talk about the church. You came from a church that is an icon in the city of Chicago. It was pastored by the late great Evelyn Davis, and the church is probably had one of the best choirs that I know of, and probably one of the best songs that ever come out of it was "Are You Ready?" To me, I mean that's something that's familiar to everybody. And you all, somebody who did the remix of it not too long ago. I saw it on social media. During the pandemic.
Well, we did.
Yeah.
We redid it. Yeah.
And so, but you came from that church, and your father is now the pastor, Bishop Larry Roberts Sr.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like growing up in a church with such a great legacy and musical presence in Chicago?
Well, one of the advantages that we had that a lot of especially younger musicians don't have these days until like my dad had the restaurants. And my dad drove the pop truck back in the day. Otha played drums. Arnold Bayman played drums. So if they didn't show up, man, they just kind of threw us up there. Even on the organ, if my dad or somebody didn't show up, or if it was for devotion service, we got up on the organ, holding the key down that we was comfortable in playing. It's like I'm holding A flat down, and if I'm holding that down, and they start singing it A, man, I'm like, dang, man, I can't really play that good at A at the time, But man, just coming up in church like that, man, it really gave us the opportunity to really grow. We weren't judged. We were able to mess up and all of that stuff, man. So I'm excited that I was able to grow up in that era because we had a better chance at learning versus today, man. It's like, no, you got to know how to do it before you get up on these platforms, unfortunately, because of the fact that people are looking for excellence versus, we kids up there, man, with coat hangers because they ain't leave no drums for us. So we had the little white bars off the hangers, and we had a couple extra pair because when those break, then you needed the other ones,
Exactly.
So that's the era we grew up in, man. And I can really appreciate that because they really taught us the nucleus of what it was to be, young men and women, man. So,
I grew up in the house. My oldest son is a drummer. He lives in Raleigh now. But I remember the first drum he had was given to him by his godparents. And I often tell his godfather is Pastor Carl Adair, and I often tell him, Carl, I'm not gonna forgive you for this.
Right.
But then it went from the Fisher Price drums to the coat hangers.
Right.
beating everything around the house. And then my mother-in-law, she put him on the drums in church, on Friday night service where it wasn't a whole lot of people,
Right.
and allow him to,
Exactly.
get used to it.
Exactly.
And so I think that in our churches we miss that
Yep.
because we're going out finding the people that already has the
Exactly.
the degrees, or they have the
Exactly.
training, and we are missing growing up musicians
That's right.
in our churches.
So that's why I said that.
Yes.
Like, and my grandmother, they even paid us when we was a kid, right? So they had a little yellow envelope they would pay us, and sometimes they would give us $5, and sometimes it would be all dimes in there, and they would take our tithes out of what they paid us to teach us how to pay our tithes and
Right.
offering,
Right.
But man, that's how we came up, and that's why I said that, because nowadays, there's not a lot of Friday night services or Monday night services. We was in the church 3 to 5 days a week, man.
Yeah.
And then on Sundays, it's structured to it. So at the end of the day, it's like you're not allowing that kid who really don't know how to play unless you have children's church going on somewhere else, and even that's even more structured, man. So it's a different day and time now.
I was telling someone that I remember when Jason Tyson didn't know how to play.
Oh, absolutely.
Jason Tyson was a student at he grew up in our school. We had a private school, and he didn't know how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at where he is now. Man. Jason's one of the baddest cats out there.
I had to fill in for him at Smokies for 3 months straight. Just about I stopped playing a few weeks ago because Pastor Smokey started a church in Atlanta. So I told Jason, I said, man, how you think I'm gonna come in here and fill your shoes, man? But I gave it a good shot, but it was good though. I enjoyed it. I just be joking around, man. But just honored that them guys would even trust and allow me to come sit in their seats, man, and play. So it was cool.
Also, I'm looking at Naaman Williams. He threw out a name that you probably, only people from back in the day knew you as Lil Larry.
Yeah, Lil Larry, man.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah. Me and Naaman grew up together too, man. Actually, he grew up across the street from where the church is in Oakdale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cool.
Played ball and everything, man. That's my point guard.
Yeah, I heard about his basketball skills. All right. Jewel Easterling, God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. So again, you grew up. Your mom was featured on the albums from Trinity All Nations. Oh man, what was the one song that
my mother sang? I Love Jesus.
I Love Jesus. Yep. More Today.
Mm-hmm.
That song there. Let me tell you something. I was in my late teenage years, leaving the transition from high school to college. I had a college class, and that was really getting on my nerve. And I was like, man, I said, I don't know if I can handle this, because I was like, I don't want to drop the class, but I needed this particular class. And I remember going, back then you still had LPs,
right?
You don't have, and so I put that on because whenever that was always Trinity All Nation, that particular album was always my go-to album when I really needed some inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that on. I heard your mother sing that, and I was like, man, I said, okay, I got up, got my books, started working, let that play in the background. Because back then you had gospel all day
That's
Saturday.
Right. That's
WYCA.
Right. Morning Golden Gospel, Nash Schaefer, everybody.
All of that.
Yep.
So you can Saturdays were the best day for me to do homework. Yeah. And then the rest of the week I play hip hop. But anyway. Woo. But you come from this dynamic musical presence in Chicago, and you are known as a musician. How much of a role does music play in your life today?
To be honest with you, man, even though I've traveled all over the world, playing drums mostly and keys as well, there were times, it's different for me than it is for the people who are just musicians. And what I mean by that is that I started off cutting hair when I was 13, so I simultaneously I was the PK, the grandson. I had to work in my dad's restaurants 40 to 60 hours a week, barbecuing ribs and cleaning meat and all that kind of stuff. Oh, man, I cook like a big mama and I bake, man. So, yeah, man, people know how I get down. That's where my daughter got it from. But doing that along with cutting hair, along with trying to be a musician as well, it was rough, man. It was rough. Like, I taught myself how to read music so that way I could play drum music because I was able to tour and do, different plays and everything. And we had to use, sheet music and everything, man. So I taught myself how to read because when I was coming up, we really couldn't, be involved in band in school as much as we wanted to because we had church and what couldn't nobody take us and all of that stuff, man. And then certain things, man, everything was just a sin. Like they ain't want us playing basketball. But my father was like, man, I'm not gonna not let him play sports. So my father pretty much fought for me in those areas, man. But as it relates to music, there were times that I just wanted to forfeit everything because I just wanted to play music, right? But I didn't do that. Like I had to keep up. Like I would start cutting hair at the barbershop at 4 o'clock in the morning, then have to go out of town or have a gig. So I would cut up until that time. And then now I'm racing to the airport so I can get on the plane and go out of town to do my gig. Unlike, a lot of other musicians who do it for a living, they're just able to focus on music only. And I'm listening to songs, learning songs on the way to the gig or in the car or trying to learn them in between time, not really being able to practice them like I wanted to, man. And I kind of regretted that for a minute. But when I look at where I am right now, still able to stay on top of my music, but doing everything else I'm doing right now, I'm grateful that I was able to keep up, man. But it was a time that I just wanted to forfeit everything else because I just wanted to play music. I wanted to be platformed. I wanted to shine. I got songs that's out on records, man. That's all I wanted to do. I even have my music group right now where, I have a production company and, record company and all of that kind of stuff, that's a part of that, man, because I don't want that to ever die,
And that's good for aspiring musicians and singers to know that you have you have your own company
Yeah.
that they can possibly, instead of trying to get with all the big wigs, come and see him.
Yeah.
I saw not too long ago on Facebook where I guess you were in your studio and you were doing something on the various instruments, getting ready to lay down some tracks or whatever. And I'm like, man, I say, this is what musicians do.
Yeah.
They eat, drink, sleep, music. It's a part of them. I look at my own son. He went from playing drums to playing keyboards, and then he taught himself how to play the bass guitar. And I'm like, I told my son, I need you to allow your music to take you places. Allow God in your music to take you places. I said, because you're too gifted, but I think he has that little nervousness about that.
The thing about it with me is that I wasn't able to completely focus on the music because I've been under the gun my entire life, right? So unlike, I opened up my first barbershop when I was 19, which means that, I haven't even, I wasn't even an adult yet, if you will. I wasn't even 21 yet, but I had, $5,000 a week worth of bills to pay at 19 years old. Well, I got payroll. I'm paying rent. I'm paying bills. I'm paying my car note, and I'm doing stuff that other people. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm counting songs off 1, 2, 3, but then in my head, I'm like, man, how I'm gonna get this $10,000 by tomorrow, and this, that, and the other. So I had to think about and deal with other things that the average musician, if you will, didn't really have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And I know people have stuff on different levels, but you understand what I'm saying. I had to make sure my businesses can run, then having a kid, and it was just a lot, man. So
I understand.
I wanted to throw everything else out the window, and I just wanted to do music, but I'm glad that I didn't do that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you still got to eat, and music might not pay all the bills.
Absolutely.
You got to have that 9 to 5 sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Pastor Carla there. Yolanda Green, God bless you. All right, so now let's get into the business portion. You are a successful successful entrepreneur. And the reason why I say you're successful because your name is out there. You have visibility. You have the exposure. You might not be where you want to be, but success is not deemed by your reaching the final destination.
Right.
Success is deemed by the journey that you're taking. But you're a successful entrepreneur who has fostered various streams of income for yourself. When did the vision, well, you talked about it 19 years old, but how many doors did that open for you in terms of your other business ventures?
So the reason I started cutting hair when I was 13 is because my parents built a house out in the suburb. So there weren't any people that looked like me who could cut my hair, right? And I was in the suburb, but everything else was in the city. That's where we got our hair cut at. So, man, I know how to draw, and I have great penmanship. So, you taught in the book that cutting hair is an art and a science. So I went and bought a pair of clippers for $19 from Walgreens. And I started cutting my own hair. And I would tell people, I said, hey, man, let me cut your hair. I charge $3, but if I mess you up, I'll pay you $3, right? I never had to pay nobody. And that's how I was able to get people to sit in my chair. And I proved to them that I can cut, man, until I turned it into a full-fledged barbershop in my parents' basement. And I had one of my friends, Mike, cutting with me in my parents' basement. So I literally had 2 chairs in my parents' basement. We had the whole south suburbs like sold up, man, when I was a teenager, literally, right? So when I was 17, I told my parents, this is what I want to do. I want to go to barber school. So I had all of my credits except for the major credits, when I was a senior. So I got out of school at 12 o'clock every day. I would leave straight from school, drive straight to barber school. And I saved my own money from the money I made. And I opened up my own barbershop when I was 19 years old, man. So basically, like everything that I do right now, like I wanted it right away. Like I was that barber that started at 4 in the morning. I wouldn't get done sometimes at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. I would cut between 25 and 38 heads every day. I cut all the celebrities, the basketball players, football players, people in the music industry, baseball players. Like I did it all. People in the like when I was young, I did all of that stuff, man. And I wanted it right away. Like if I would have listened to my dad, I probably could have been rich at 25. But I was changing the rims on my truck, man, like they were underwear, like for real, because I made so much money as an 18, like before I even opened up my barbershop at 18, when haircuts was only $10, I was making between $1,500 and $2,000 a week. When haircuts was only $10, right? And I was 18. So you figuring that's 31 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man, it's like I was because and the correlation in church and my business is because they said like I'm that person who I've never drank, I've never smoked, I've never sold drugs, I never gang bang, I never did none of the above.
You had no time.
But my reality was it was the women and it was the fighting for me. Like I'm a Taurus, I'm true to my sign. So, I used to throw a lot of clippers and all that kind of stuff. God didn't heal me from that, for the most. I'm about 95%, if you will. But see, in church, man, they taught us if you live right, heaven belongs to you. Treat your neighbor right, but heaven belongs to you. That's the song my grandmother always sang. And they scared us into thinking that, if you did this, if you did that, you won't be blessed. And I was always prophesied to as a young man, as a kid, that I was going to be a successful business owner, right? But then the correlation with that is that, yeah, but you can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you'll be cursed and you won't be blessed. So I was always afraid to do any of that stuff before I became an adult, right? But becoming an adult and just making wise decisions on, I don't want to drink, I don't want to smoke, I don't choose to do those things. So I don't judge people who do it, but that's just what I choose to do because I don't want that interrupting my peace. And I've seen what it can do to people, right? So, hey, if that's what you do, have at it. But my point being is that I thought that I was supposed to succeed in business just based off of living right the way they told us to live in church. It didn't happen like that, man, which caused me to deal with suicide. It caused me to feel like God hated me. It made me like second guess myself, like, what am I doing wrong? I fed the homeless. I paid my tithes and my offerings in church. I was always at church. I was never late for anything. I always fulfilled all my obligations. I was a good guy. I didn't bother nobody. And I'm like, God, why aren't I being blessed? But it came to me that we have to go through in order to get to. But it's how you deal with what you go through that determines how you come out, right? God was dealing with my gift and character, and I understand. We have to be careful that we don't allow our gift to take us someplace that our character can't handle, right? But I didn't understand it at the time. I just wanted what I wanted, not knowing that I wasn't really able to handle what he's giving me and showing me now, man. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad I had to go through it because had I gotten it too early, I might have gotten it and lost it all and been at the age I am right now, trying to regain what I lost because I couldn't handle it.
And that's awesome. And you know what you said about how they taught you in church and how that, you felt, okay, if I did all of this like they said, I should be successful.
Absolutely.
It's just like when we tell people, if you give the Lord your life, everything will be all right.
Absolutely.
No, that's when your problem will
start. It
start.
don't work like that. I'm like, how the drug dealers and the gangbangers and all these people that curse, can't nobody cuss but God. Why are they doing better than I am? He drink. How's he doing good? God don't work like that.
No.
God taught me. God had to see coming up in church, man. We actually become the biggest. We're hypocrites. We judge people. We're so judgmental, but church taught us that, and they didn't mean any harm. They didn't mean any harm. They just wanted to cover us from what the world had to offer. But I would have preferred, like I did with my daughter, hey, this is A, B, and C. I'm not hiding anything from now. You have to make wise decisions on how you want to go about this. But trying to scare somebody into not doing certain things, and it happened over the pulpit in the Church of God in Christ. And I don't think it was right, but I'm glad for those teachings because I wouldn't be who I am today. but I just kind of tell people eat the fish and spit out the bones.
The teaching gave you a foundation.
It gave me a foundation.
And every foundation, just like a building foundation, is the base for building.
That's right.
You have a strong foundation, but it's up to you to determine how you build from that foundation. So yes, we have the teachings as our foundation. And again, in that day and time, in the era where many of that teaching originated, it was, you had to draw a line between this and that, holy and unholy, just so you can stay on task.
That's right. And God blesses. God bless. I found out that God blesses who He want to bless, when He want to bless them, and how He want to bless them. And there's nothing you or nobody else can do about it.
Right.
Nothing. People who don't even believe in God, they're blessed, but that's not up to me to determine on whether or not they should be blessed or not. Right.
Right.
And then coming up in church, man, there are so many things that go on in church that they hide, especially back in the back office that only certain people got privy to. But then they come in the front and they make it seem like just be real about it, be transparent, because what happens is that especially the new babes in church, man, when they see something they feel like they shouldn't see or they can't handle, they don't understand, they can't get it, because wait a minute, why did you teach me not to do X, Y, and Z? But then, I remember one time a pastor said, he said, I'm not standing out another girl up here because she got pregnant and making her apologize to the church, because some of y'all mothers and some of y'all missionaries and evangelists, y'all did the same thing, but y'all just didn't get caught. Because you can ruin somebody, man, by bringing them up in front of everybody. You'll make them say, man, how many of us said, as soon as I get grown, I'm moving out my house and I'm not ever going to church no more. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just the way we felt, man. Yeah. I got tired of getting saved on Friday nights, man. Save me, Lord. Save me, Lord. I'm sorry, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. Now say, forgive me, Lord. And then I would try and sit down prematurely, right? So after the altar workers leave from working with me, I'm like, okay, I'm great. Go sit down, man. I'll go sit down. And then they'll look around. Little Larry, what you doing sitting down? I'm like, I'm saved. No, you ain't. Get back up here. So I go back up there, man. So what I learned how to do is I'll be like, save me, Lord. And I have my eyes like this, make sure nobody looking at me. And I gather up enough spit in my mouth, man. And I put spit on my cheeks. So then I'll make sure one of the mothers the evangelist see me. I was crying like, oh yeah, son, you saved. So then my grandma, she'll steady everybody up there like, come on, tell them what God did. Are you saved, son? I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I'm saved. Or tell us what the Lord did. I'm like, first of all, I would like to ask God to forgive me. I would like to ask Grandma Reverend Davis to forgive me, my mother and my father to forgive me, and I'm saved, Lord. Come on, son. But then she made the mistake and tried to shout me. I'm not gonna shout now. I'm too cool to shout. She'll grab my hand and try and come on, son, shout. I'm like, Grandma, I'm not ready to shout. I don't do that. I'm too cool for that. But yeah, man, but that's what gave us the foundation, man. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly.
And I believe that every family, every entity that makes up who we are, we have to have foundational teaching.
Right.
But then we also have to be wise in teaching our young people what the real world is about,
right, and
how they can navigate through it without trying to be domineering over how they should go.
Period.
Even with my own children, I had to be careful, because like you said, my sons, they were into sports. My oldest son was a basketball. He's a hooper. My youngest son, he just surprised us and decided he wanted to play basketball one day in 8th grade. I'm like, really? You ain't never talked about playing? Kind of found out he can hoop.
Right.
We just never saw it.
Right.
My daughter was into track and cheerleading, and so we did not believe in holding them back because of church. At that time I was assistant pastor.
Right.
I'm not holding my children back.
How old are you?
I'm 54.
Okay, so I'm 5 years younger than you. So
right.
We're around the same generation. So we came up saying that we weren't gonna do that with our kids. Like I grew up playing every sport. Like, so my father's the one who said, no, I ain't gonna stop him from playing. Like, he was the one who took me to get my license at 16. I'll come home with the car. My mama say, how you get here? I say, in the car. In the car with who? I say, in the car with my sister. Yeah, but who was driving? Me. Oh no, I'm gonna tell Big Larry. My father was like, Foxy got his license. What do you want him to do? So my father was the risk taker. You know what I'm saying? My mother was like, my mama still don't wear pants to this day. I'm sorry, Mom, if you listening. My mama's 70 years old. She still don't wear pants. She saved, sanctified, filled with the precious gift of the Holy Ghost. The mind want to run on to see what the end's gonna be. Okay. But you gotta love it though, man. You gotta respect and love. My mom still say yes, ma'am, to this day. I used to cut my hair like 3 times a week, man, and I'd be on the drums playing, and my grandma come around, like tearing service, and she'd come around with oil and laying their hairs on everybody, and I'd be on the drums, man, and I'd do a blade on them, Like I put my head back like this so she wouldn't touch cause I just shaped my fro, man. Like you can pray for me, grandma, but pray for me right here. Don't put your hand on my head. And then, man, she'll open up the whole bottle of oil, man, and pour the oil down my head, man. I'm like, grandma, why did you do that, man? Man.
Well, fortunately, I didn't have, my mom was cool with, and so I had a pretty good, childhood growing up. But I saw my friends how, they, growing up, they had those issues.
Yeah.
I didn't have it, thank God. But I also believe that, like I said, my wife and I, we were not strict in that regard. Now, we were strict to a certain point where, okay, who you hanging out with?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening? No, you can't go. And they would go, sometimes go to my wife, ask my wife, and my wife would like, well, I don't see nothing wrong with it. I'm like, or they'll try to play us off each other.
Right.
But we knew, we knew that there was a fine line. We were responsible for making sure that they did not cross. But then we allowed them they went to prom. My oldest son
we couldn't go.
Yeah, see, my oldest son went to 3 proms in 1 year.
I could have went if I wanted to, but I really didn't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but they taught us like you can't go to prom. It's a sin, and it wasn't my parents more so than it was just what the church, God, and Christ kind of taught at the time, right? And I think what happened with us, like when I came up, I'm figuring like, man, I figured out how to do whatever it is I want to sneak and do. So what makes me think that my daughter is not going to be able to figure out what to do? So why don't I just be transparent and honest with her right now about what this is, and we can talk about whatever that is. Because we came up and said, don't you question us. Whatever we say, do. Yeah. That's just what it is. You know?
And then it was also too individual, every church, even though it's Church God in Christ, that pastor had his own teaching.
Absolutely.
And those parents had their own way of how they were going to raise their kids.
Absolutely.
All right. So Larry's Barber College is in Walmart.
So the Larry's Barber Maximus is in Walmart.
Maximus.
Right.
Okay. What's the difference?
So the barber school is where students come to pay tuition, which I have financial aid and GI Bill. They come to pay tuition in order to get trained to become a licensed professional. So the Barber Maximus in Walmart is where the the student can come in and do 150 hours of their internship, because I'm registered with the state for that, along with, if they want to work as far as their career is concerned, then they can come work inside of Walmart as a licensed professional.
Now, how did you even get the vision of going to Walmart?
Because I don't sleep at night.
Okay, gotcha.
but Walmart called me though. So they called me. So the average person can't just, nobody can just go to Walmart and say, hey man, I want to put a business up inside of here. They don't work like that. So thankfully, God threw my name out there, and Walmart, they called me, professionalism, ain't no booth rent being paid in there. There's uniformity. It's clean. We have a receptionist, we're taxpaying citizens, so they get taxes that come out there check. They had a 401k options, AFLAC options, medical and dental options. I'm setting them up to succeed with an exit plan. Most people in this industry, at least over 80% of people in this industry, don't have an exit plan. They don't have insurance. They don't have no benefits. If they can't go to work, guess what? They just can't get paid. And I don't want my employees to be like that. I want them to be able to have, if COVID was to happen again, preferably it's not, because I'm sick of these masks. If COVID was to happen again, they'll be able to file unemployment. They have 401k, the whole 9 yards, man. So that's how I'm setting them up in Walmart's.
Awesome. I'm looking at the comments. Wendy Young says, talk cousin, Terry Service.
you know who Wendy Young is related to, right? You know who that is?
Who?
So you know Juan Teague and all of them?
Yeah.
So that's my family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The Hartgroves.
Yeah, the Hartgroves.
Yep.
Yeah.
From Mount Carmel.
Yep. That means, are you connected to the Fords?
Cedric
Ford and all them?
Well, yeah. One small where I talked to Cedric. He texted me last week, man.
Yeah. I just tagged him. I'm waiting for him to chime in.
Okay.
Carla did already chime in.
Right.
But okay. So now you got Larry's Barber College. You got Barber Maximus. Now, how did you get into the jail systems?
So what I did is that, we're so quick to talk about, all of the people who we feel like are bad people, right? And we stay within the four walls. But I figured, like, because I got a school on the 79th Street, as they call it, the 9, and I got a school in the Wild Hundreds, right? So I've had a business over there for like 25 years. I had a shop. I started off with a shop over there. And, when you see the people, like, man, we like the barbershop and the shops is where everybody come, right? You got the guy, man, I'll clean up your stuff for $5 or $2 or $3. And, so you letting the drunks clean up, you letting it's like one big family affair, man. But they still need help beyond that, right? So everybody that's locked up in jail aren't bad people. It's just they messed up and they need another opportunity to do something different. So what I decided to do is I went in, in a posture of surrenderance. Like, man, I'm not asking y'all for nothing. Just let me come in here and let me put my school inside of here. But there was a circle, and the circle, what I mean is that if they don't finish inside the jail, they can come finish on the outside with me, right? And if they do finish in jail, I'm able to put them to work. Barber Maximas, other barbershops, and so on and so forth. Man, and after that, man, it's like I've had so many people to succeed and be able to do something different with their lives, because when they got an X on their back, don't nobody want to give them a job. So the recidivism is high, because it's like, okay, I get out of jail, I can't stand on the corner and sell water for the rest of my life, or sell donuts for the rest of my life. So what am I gonna do? I can't go to this job where I'm working 40 hours a week, but after taxes and everything, I'm only coming home with $400 every 2 weeks. How can you survive off of that? So, like, man, as long as you're not a sex offender, you can get your barber's license and you can make 6 figures easy.
Wow. I wish somebody would have told me that when I was in college. Man, I would have, But now, and what you're doing is really the reason why I put this show and brought this show about connections, because I had people. I got tired of hearing people say that, well, the church don't do this, the church don't do that, and I tell people the church is not really the building.
That's right.
The church
That's right.
is made up of the individuals that attend there. I said, don't say the church isn't doing it. If I got 3 people, 2 people, 1 person in the church that's addressing a need, guess what? That person represents the church.
That's right.
I have a young man who's one of my sponsors. He goes to Tent City. He provides stuff for the homeless. He, that's his name, John Netherly.
Right.
He's a minister. So guess what? The church is dealing with homelessness in the community.
It's a ministry.
You are taking a business model to offenders, those that are in jail. You're putting back into the community. You represent the church. The church is that. So, I get tired of people looking for the actual the building, and the church in mass coming out. No, each one reach one, and that's the thing. And so I'm glad to see that you are doing that, and God has opened doors for you that you never knew existed.
That's right.
So now you have the barber college, you have the Maximus, you're inside the penitentiaries. Wait a minute now. You mentioned Southside. How come we ain't got Larry's Barber Maximus on the west side or something like that?
Well, right before I came to this meeting, I actually just went and met with somebody a little bit further down Roosevelt that we're trying to put something on the west side right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm working on it. And I'm also in IDJJ, so the Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice. So I have 2 locations inside of the juvenile justice centers as well. And mind you, everything that I do inside of the penal institutions, I do it totally complimentary. So I've been at Cook County Jail now for almost 13 years, and we don't get paid to be there, right? So through my non-for-profit is where I seek grants and donations for people to give, so that way we can continue to strengthen, because it's a lot of stuff that I pay for, out of our pocket, out of my pocket, in order to make sure that they have everything that they need up in there outside of the stuff that the jails and stuff supply for them.
All right. See, I wish I could, I don't need Larry's barber now because I don't have no hair.
Well, yes, you do. So to your point, right? They tried to make it like we were non-essential, especially during COVID, right? Mm-hmm. And remember when the mayor, she got a haircut and then she didn't think about it and like, oh man, well, I got my haircut. We are non-essential. I don't care. I mean, we are very essential, should I say. I'm sorry. I don't care how bad the economy get. You're going to need our services. Okay. We are $547 billion industry. So even though you have a bald head, don't you shave it?
Yeah.
That's a haircut.
Gotcha.
Don't you shave your face?
Yeah.
And have to line and trim your mustache? Yeah. That's a haircut. Okay. Whether you do it or whether you have to buy our products or our tools and implements and equipment to do it, you can't get around it.
All right. So, Earl, you can go to the barbershop. Woo. All right. So, because of this, now, do you have locations in other cities?
So, I do have my master instructor's license in over 22 states.
Okay.
Because I'm preparing, like, my staff know I'm in 2030 already, right? I'm gone, man, and I'm preparing for where I want to go. Of course, we was taught in church, man. You don't never want to, have opportunity to come knocking at the door and you're not prepared. So I'm preparing for where I want to go, And I did have a school in Memphis, and I had a school in Dallas, Texas before COVID, but I decided just not to reopen those locations or whatever, because having a business where people aren't really um, totally invested in, it's difficult to get them to run that business and kind of care for it like you was if they were like a big investor in the business, right? So now that I know better and how to do a situation like that, now I'm prepared to be in other states again in order to make sure that it can properly work, which that's what I'm working on right now.
Is North Carolina in your view?
Well,
I really want to ask that because my oldest son, he moved to Raleigh, and he was trying to find a job, that would bring him the money to take care of his family the way he really wants to.
well,
And I mentioned, I said, go to barber college.
he can, well, so I'm the only barber school that has student housing as well. So I people can come live on campus and go to my school, right?
Okay.
So I'm inundated right now. I'm full to capacity. So that's why I'm working on. I'm trying to get like 100 more units, so that way people, because I have like probably over 40 people that's on the waiting list right now to live in my student housing from wherever that may be, right? But my point is that he can come home and go to barber school, and he can stay with dad. He don't have to live on campus. He can stay with dad, go to barber school, get his license here, do reciprocity like I did, and then transfer his license over to North Carolina. He can either keep it in Illinois and North Carolina, or he can just get rid of his Illinois license when that expires and just keep his North Carolina license.
And how long is the school term for?
1,500 hours.
Okay.
So he would have to do like roughly 12 or 13 months. That's
Okay.
with financial aid. If he did it outside of financial aid, like pay it out of his pocket or whatever, then that would be like he can do it in 10 months, but no less than 10 months.
Gotcha. All right. So, um, you have crossed over into the realm of literary writing or literary work with the release of your book, Out of the Ashes I Rise. What was the inspiration for this book?
So again, the first book I wrote was Suicide is Not the Answer. And then Out of the Ashes I Rise basically is like a piggyback off of that book, expounding on it more. But just really, a lot of times people see you, they see what you like. I've been in business for 30 years, man, but I just now start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, like maybe the last 8 or 9 years, right? But some people think that it's supposed to just happen automatically and right away. And when people see you, they see, how you dress, how you live, the cars you drive, the things you do, the businesses that you have. They think that everything is sweet. And I just had to let them know, no, but these are the things that I deal with. Like I'm a human being, just like everybody else, right? So part of one of the things that I have in my book is that, I got molested when I was a baby, so I talk about that. I talk about how that affected me unknowingly. How did that affect me? I was a womanizer, not just because I, wasn't nothing wrong, but I womanized, but it came from that. So I had to go and get help. I had to go. I had anger problems. I'm fighting everybody. I used to punch holes in walls and break windshields with my fists and break my rear view mirrors down. It's like, okay, where's all of this coming from, right? So, black people especially, we have a stigma where you can't go to a psychiatrist and you can't go sit down with somebody. It's okay to go sit down with somebody, a professional, and see like, man, like what's happening, what's going on with me, man. And when they rewound the time, it's like, man, you know what? Have you dealt with this? You need to deal with it. I ain't thinking that I needed to, you know what I'm saying? But then it also helped me to understand that some people that we would judge, if you will, you know what I mean? If we would judge them, but not knowing what they went through. But it happened to me, but I went a different direction. They went another direction, but we're quick to say, well, why is he acting like that? Or why is she acting like that? But you don't know their stories, right? So we have to just pretty much have some type of empathy and some compassion. We have to love them through whatever that is, and then dealing with suicide. I just felt like I didn't want to live anymore. I thought that God hated me. And you would think that, man, every day I got up, I dressed up, I was gonna smell good. I drove the best cars. I had a great business. I was never late to anything. I fulfilled all of my obligations, and I would come home at night and I would be balled up in depression, man, in darkness, because nobody believed me. Nobody heard me, right? I could call and say, hey man, I'm going through. Oh man, you're gonna be okay. But they only said that based off of my posture and how they seen me, right? So they didn't believe that I had issues. So what helped me understand why people deal with suicide is that people don't deal with suicide because, in my opinion, because they just want to die. It's like they want people to feel how badly they are hurting, right? So if they commit suicide, it's like I played my funeral in my head. It's like people will get up and say, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda, I should have did something about it. And that's what we want to know that'll happen because we were hurting so badly, but people didn't believe it. So suicide is the way to say, I'm gonna show you how bad I was hurting. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said suicide is not the answer. So writing a book, Out of the Ashes I Rise, is pretty much just to kind of piggyback off of that, but then also expound on. But I had to go through. But it's how I dealt with what I went through that allowed me to come out where I am right now, right? And dealing with gift and character. Like, people don't really understand that gift and character. We have to be careful that we don't allow our gift to take us to a place that our character can't handle. So a lot of people, it's just like somebody, you take them fresh out of jail and you say, man, I'm gonna give you a job as a bank president. You give them a job as a bank president, but you haven't dealt with their character, right? You have to mentor them, give them life skills, deal with mental abuse, substance abuse, the whole nine. And if you don't deal with that, they'll get in that position and they'll screw up a six-figure job position because they don't know how to deal with it, right? So I felt like I had to understand that, man, and I wanted to be able to share that with people so that the people who are going through can know that, like, man, just it's okay. Eat the fish, spit out the bones, go through, you get diamonds, man, from coal. You know what I'm saying? I always talk about pizza. I remember I was on a panel with a bunch of superintendents, man, because I'm an adjunct for city colleges as well. So I helped City College Truman put a barber school inside of True. I have some other colleges that come in. I got high schools and everything, right? So I was on a panel with some superintendents, man, and I was talking about pizza. And I'm like, man, where's this dude talking about pizza for, man? I said, so let me ask you. So if you had some pizza from last night, most people would do what the next day? They would take it, pop it in the microwave. How long would it take? 2 or 3 minutes, right? Plastic plate, cheese stick to the plate, the bread soggy, this, that, and the other. But us from the old school, what we go do? We go pop the oven on, we go preheat the oven, put it on some aluminum foil or whatever that looks like, and the pieces go taste like it did yesterday, probably even better. It took longer, but it tastes so much better than the 2 or 3 minutes it took in a microwave, right? So my point being is that we want it right away, but if you just, man, pop it in the oven, man, and it's gonna be better. You might not want it to wait that long. So that's pretty much what I want to help people to understand, man, in my book that I wrote.
Awesome. And more people, whether they admit it or not, there's so many people that have flirted with the idea of suicide.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Especially young people.
Yeah, young people. I'll be the first to admit that when I was younger, and I felt like the whole world was crashing in on me because you're supposed to be strong, especially as young men. They teach you, you grow up thinking that men are not supposed to show emotions.
That's right.
And not supposed to have any feelings of breakdown. And you, when you're in a situation where you don't think you can handle it, but you're not supposed to be able to, you're not supposed to cry or anything like that. So you got to be, you got to man up through everything. And I remember going home many times, looking at this bottle of pills, saying, "Man, all I got to," because I wasn't gonna do it, then it was gonna cause me pain.
Yeah, because that would have hurt. Doc.
I wasn't gonna take a gun
man.
and try to blow my
That's
brains
right,
out.
that's
No,
right. Yeah, man.
I said I take about 4 or 5 of these,
Right.
and I'll just sleep.
Yep.
And that was my thing. But
that's what I did.
Okay,
That's what I did.
Well, see, and I
But
was like, man.
God, man, he preserved my life, man. You know what I'm saying? He preserved my life, and like, man, I'm grateful, man. You know what I'm saying? But I think that I was being selfish because I wasn't thinking about my daughter and my family and stuff like that. But when you're hurting, you're not thinking about those things, man. First thing, everything is that I don't want to live no more. I'm sick of living it, because we think that that's the way out, man. But that's definitely not the way out. It's definitely not the way out.
You try to rationalize it. Everything will be better for everybody else.
Absolutely. And then some things we bring on ourselves, man. Like, we got to take accountability for stuff. You go and buy a BMW knowing you can only afford a Grand Am, and then when Repo Man come, it's almost like, man, what I do to deserve this? You knew you couldn't afford it in the first place. So what you getting mad at God for? He didn't do it, you did.
Exactly. So how can they get your book?
They can go to www.larryerobertsjr.com, and they can order my book today. Or they can go to Amazon. It's available on Kindle, so they can go to Amazon and get my book, Out of the Ashes I Rise. It's available.
And I think that and I think that every, especially young person, I'm a jurisdictional youth leader, youth president. Every young person should possibly read that book, because I'm telling you, so many young people are committing suicide this day and time, and they feel they have no one to talk to. And I believe that your book is what I would consider like that could be a help aid.
Absolutely.
You know,
Everybody that read my book say that I picked it up and I couldn't put it down until I finished it.
right?
Literally. I mean, because it's like it's that and it's real. And people look at me like, man, you went through that stuff? Like, yeah, I
Mhm.
went through that.
And people are surprised because see they see you,
That's right.
they see the level that you're living,
That's right.
and they can't imagine you having problems or depression.
That's right.
Because they, like the old folks said, you used to come home, you say, "Ooh, I'm tired," and your old folks saying, "What you tired for?"
Exactly.
You know, and
Exactly.
so if somebody, you say, "I'm depressed," what do you have to be depressed about? You
Absolutely.
got a great career,
Yeah,
you have
absolutely.
money, you have this,
Absolutely.
that, and the other.
They don't understand.
They don't understand the pressure.
Man, you know the multimillionaires, man, who've committed suicide and the
Yeah,
people who money couldn't make them happy.
yeah,
So it's not about money, you know what I'm saying, all the time, man. It's about other things that people like mental health is real, you know. But I mean, hey, but we have to tell people so they can understand that, and they got to
exactly.
listen to us.
And I'm gonna do a show on mental health in the very near future because it's so important that we have strong mental health, and that's the thing that's happening in this day and time. We're overlooking people's mental health,
Right,
even when they tell you
right,
that they are suffering emotionally.
right.
We just kind of push them aside because we don't know how to deal with it.
And even if I can just kind of talk about just kind of the entrepreneurial aspect, like I remember Pastor Campbell, I was at St. James for a while, and Pastor Campbell, the person that used to come up and do the announcements and everything, they
Mhm.
was like, many are called, but few are chosen, right? What people got to understand is that everybody wasn't meant to be. I never want to discourage anybody from being a business owner or doing what you feel, but everybody weren't made to be, you know, certain business owners and stuff like that, right? That's where the many are called, but few are chosen. But if you do it, you have to make sure you do it with excellence. Put a plan together, put a vision board together, incorporate yourself. Get line all your ducks up in a row before you get in business, because it's not as easy as what some people think. And then you got to know your business. I know how to do everything inside of all of my businesses. I have 4 companies, 4 corporations, if you will, and I have a lot of companies up under my corporations. And I know how to do everything. If somebody walked out on me, I know how to do that in my business. But you got people that want to open up a business, like why would you want to open up a barbershop and you don't cut hair? That don't make
Yeah,
sense. You know what I'm saying? Why would you want to open up a restaurant and you don't know how to cook, unless you just have a lot of money where you can put the right people in place? But it's not what people think that it is, man. So it's
right.
like, just be wise about the decisions you make, because you get it, then you put yourself in a position and you can't handle it, and then you want to start blaming the world and God, why are you letting this happen to me? And it's not that. Maybe you should have thought twice before you went into a certain business and did certain things. So I think that
Hmm.
that's important too.
Shout out to Annette Harris. She says, blessings to you and your businesses.
Hey, thank you.
She has a show with Intellectual Radio on Wednesdays, Mind, Body, and Soul. Um, and real quick, let's talk about the gym shoes.
Okay.
Well, now, what inspired you? Have your own gym shoe line
So,
now.
so I have a shoe line. So my partner, James Mayers, he actually plays drums as well. He's from Chicago, but he lives in California now, getting ready to move to Houston. But so standing up on my feet all day, right? So I used to wear suits and ties. I got best dressed in school. I used to wear suits and ties every day, tailor-made suits. I even go down. I went down on Broadview on Roosevelt from uh what was the
Ladies
name?
and gentlemen.
Yes, yes. I used to style shops. I used to get suits from there. I used to get my suits made and stuff, man. And I used to try and stand in gators all day long. Man, my dogs was barking, man, because if your feet hurting and you trying to do a service, it's like you can't focus on that service because your feet hurting. So it's like, man, I got 20 more clients to do, but my feet hurting so bad, but you still had to do 20 clients. So I wanted to come up with something where I can do a shoe that's comfortable, but it's got swag to it, and I have smocks and capes that match it, and I have beanies and sweatshirts and polos and all of that kind of stuff, man. It's a correlation of stuff, man. So I figured that I eventually sell my stuff in top end stores, uh, do like a conglomeration, with another store, like a big, I don't want to say your names, but like a big end store, and get in the Foot Lockers and then Walmart. Let Walmart sell some of my stuff, man. And just pretty much, and then I will put them in all my students' kits, so it will come with their kits, their shoes. They can pick what shoes, smocks, and capes that they want, and they can be a part of their kit and everything, man. So that's why I wanted to come up with some shoes that were stylish, that they comfortable, but when I leave here, I still got on some dope shoes versus some shoes that I had to wear only because they're comfortable and it really don't match or it don't got the swag I need because I'm going out or I'm kicking it afterward or something like that. So that's what made me come up with that.
You made me want to cut hair, man. Because Earl we were talking about what you drove up in. See,
hey man, you know that was part of the bucket list.
See, hey, well, we just thank God that you had time to come and share with us. How can people reach out to you?
So they can reach out to me. You know, if you're interested in going to barber school, we do have financial aid for those who qualify. So they can go to larrysbarbercollege.com and they can fill out their FAFSAs. We have multiple locations. So we have classes starting every month, just depending on what location you choose. If you're interested in working at Larry's Barber Maximus, and definitely it's a great place to come and work. I'll let you get your first 30 days where you don't have to pay anything. Everything you make is yours. So you can email at hr@larrysbarbercollege.com, and my COO will respond to you and get that done for you. And yeah, you know, I mean, hey, we're around, man. I'm on all social media networks: Larry Roberts Jr., Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm all of there. So y'all follow me, check me out. I appreciate you for allowing me to come on your show today. Just kind of share a little, you know, my little 2 cents, you know, of what's going on with me, man. And hopefully I inspired somebody. And man, you know, hopefully somebody was healed, delivered, and set free some kind of way, man, and inspired.
You need your own show. Tell people how to be successful in business. And it can be right here, IntellectualRadio.com. But we just thank God for you and thank God for all of you that's watching. Listen, feel free if you're ever in the Broadview area to stop by Victory Temple Church of God in Christ, 2000 West Roosevelt Road in Broadview. We're starting service time is 8 o'clock a.m. to 9:30 a.m. We roll early in the morning, y'all. And we just thank God for all that has been said and done. Thank God for all of you who have been blessing us, amen, with your presence on our show as well as in our services. And so we'll be back again next Saturday morning. Stay tuned. Hallelujah. Next week on Connection. Connections is back, y'all. We're back. Good night. Good day, everybody.